Banadzev շարունակում է եւ այս պահին զրուցում ենք Հարավային Կովկասի եւ Վրաստանի ճգնաժամի հարցերով Եվրամիության հատուկ ներկայացուցիչ Herbert Salberի հետ. Thank you, Mr. Salber, for accepting our invitation. And the very first question, is it true to say that your agenda was solely Nagorno-Karabakh and the latest escalation on Karabakh-Azerbaijani border?
That is fair to say, yes, indeed. We discussed today Nagorno-Karabakh, the conflict here in the region, and potential ways how to address it.
You came to pass a message or to get a message?
I think diplomacy is always both ways. Of course, I am here to express certain views of the European Union. That is my background as special representative, but I'm of course ready to learn here and to listen. That is maybe the main thing, since a conflict can only be resolved one day if we understand all the implications and if we all understand the background for attitudes that are being taken. That is my task, to do my best to understand all involved, and in this respect this day was very helpful.
How you see the settlement? I mean, we now in the state of no war, no peace, and a lot of soldiers across the border. So how can Europe attribute or contribute to kind of settling down, not the negotiation or starting negotiation?
Look, we in the European Union consider one fact that is fundamental. We are not the negotiators, we are not the mediators. The mediators are the Minsk Group, co-chairs of the Minsk Group, a format that we respect. It was created in the framework of the OSCE, the Organization for Cooperation and Security in Europe. This is based on a consensus, of course dated back to the 90s, but it still exists and nobody, to my knowledge, is disputing it. So let us this task of negotiating and mediating to the colleagues in the OSCE, namely to the co-chairs of the Minsk Group. This is very important. That does not mean that the European Union is completely standing outside. On the contrary, this is a conflict in the immediate neighborhood of the European Union. The European Union is interested in peace and stability, not only inside but also outside and in the neighborhood. So we have an interest in contributing to peace and stability and to a settlement of the conflict. The principles and the details of a conflict settlement have to be found within the framework of the Minsk Group and among the sides. But we say, as European Union, once such a basic understanding is there, we would like to contribute with preparing populations for peace, with work for civil society, with civil society, through NGOs. That is a background for which we also have had a program for some time, and that is certainly something we would continue.
Yes, that is called also public diplomacy, building trust between two nations. Yes. And before that, Armenia kind of is expecting to get an assessment what has happened and what is expecting from you, very addressed and very, very concrete, not complimentary, but very concrete position on what has happened. And we saw that EU has failed to do so. Instead, what has EU done so far is just to announce, hey guys, keep it there. I mean, no war, just a peace or something like that.
No, we go beyond that. We go certainly beyond saying no war, no peace. We say the status quo is not sustainable. Something has to be done to address it. There have to be negotiations among the sides in order to overcome the status quo and to create peace. We, as European Union, would not be satisfied with simply continuing with the status quo and put the conflict aside. I can tell you about numerous statements that the European Union made in the last year through its leadership at the highest level. Recently, Madame Mogherini visited the region, and there we clearly said we want to overcome the status quo and want to have a peaceful settlement of this conflict.
On April, the European Parliament discussed the recent violence in the region, and many members of parliaments demanded to stop Azerbaijan. Some of them called to recognize Karabakh Republic. What actions plans the EU executive body to assist the Minsk Group co-chairs?
The executive bodies of the EU certainly do not plan any actions which even would complicate the conflict.
Not to interfere into the OSCE Minsk Group mandate, but kind of to help both countries to build the trust across the border, for example, to monitor ceasefire or something like that.
Again, these things have to be sorted out in the Minsk Group format. Once they would be sorted out, I'm convinced that the European Union would be ready, also through its member states, to contribute to all kinds of measures that would help to bring about a settlement, that would help to build more confidence, to build trust. It's difficult to say at the moment what it is concretely, but there are such things on the table. For example, take the investigation mechanism into violations of the ceasefire agreement. I think this is a very concrete thing that the European Union would support, but we respect, of course, that things would have to be sorted out first and foremost in the Minsk Group process.
Armenia is now kind of focusing or shifting its focus on what has happened for the very first days on April. And one of the things that Armenia kind of is now it's on public and state agenda is to discuss the war crimes done by Azerbaijani soldiers, because we have received Armenian soldiers' body beheaded, but we didn't get any reaction of that. For example, this is, you may know, this is Karam Sloyan.
I know a lot of these photographs, yes.
Okay, this is the Azerbaijani soldier holding Karam Sloyan's head. And this is the photo when he got an award from Ilham Aliyev, and this is very well documented. Any comments on that?
Look, we have been confronted with allegations of atrocities from all sides. What I can say at this stage is that the European Union certainly condemns all these atrocities. They have to be followed up, they should be documented, and we hope that at a certain stage those who committed these atrocities will be punished for that. That is our clear standpoint.
What is your sense on what both presidents want? What you have heard in Baku and in Yerevan?
If I try to put together this picture of what both sides want, then
I mean, are they far from sitting in the same room negotiating? Is it going to happen anytime soon, or they are just...
I think it has to happen one day, yeah? And we as European Union are certainly making a strong appeal to all involved that negotiations are needed, that these issues of conflict settlement have to be addressed at a conference table. We hope it would happen rather sooner than later. We know this is also the ambition of the Minsk Group, and we very much support that. This is also the impression that I have after the talks here. Of course, there are reservations. There are certain, I wouldn't say conditions, but certain ideas attached to this idea, how the conflict could be solved. But I think that has to be overcome, and the sides have to find each other one day at a conference table to discuss these issues. I'm sure that is going to happen.
As many says, you can predict and then explain why it doesn't happen.
That I could do, but this is a risky game.
When the president of Azerbaijan talked about that the main topic of Azerbaijani foreign policy is to destroy Karabakh, retake territories, Europeans said, don't listen to him. This is internal. This is for his own audience. This is for internal policy. When Azerbaijan got Ramil Safarov, a crime, who was arrested in Hungary for killing Armenian officers, European Union didn't react at all. They say, we regret the Hungary's decision, but there wasn't any follow-up. When Aliyev spent almost half of the state budget on military purposes, the European Union said it's their money, oil money. Baku can spend as much as they want and on the purposes what they want. When Azerbaijan attacked, we got a sense that European Union is trying to balance between Armenia and Azerbaijan is becoming more and more unfair. Do you agree or disagree?
I disagree with that. We are, as I said before, looking at this conflict not as mediators or negotiators. What we want as European Union is looking into the future and creating a more peaceful situation here in the region. And whatever we are doing, whatever we are saying, is geared to make this objective more real. That is the issue. We try to be helpful, and we are certainly not trying to establish new dividing lines.
What is next? I mean, which kind of initiatives or visits can we expect from you? I mean, it's very understandable, Mr. Salber, that EU, we don't expect EU to do OSCE Minsk Group work. We do understand that you don't want to intervene in Minsk Group moderation because it's very sensitive. But what our understanding is, EU is our partner in trade, in political. We are member of many European organizations, and we kind of expect to acknowledge what we have done and what Azerbaijan have done. And now we are kind of very angry because what we see is that Turkey unilaterally just keep kind of anti-Armenian rhetoric keeps still going on. Azerbaijan is still going on with the anti-Armenian rhetorics, and we didn't see proper reaction, not a statement, but the proper reaction that we have partners that do realize how's the situation in the region. What we get from the EU, the messages and the attitude from the EU is very moderate, same reaction that we have seen for the last 25 years. That's kind of discouraging. That's the thing.
I think nobody should see this as an element of discouragement. I think the European Union and its member states have been able to create peace and stability in many parts of Europe for many decades after the Second World War through moderation, through prudent approaches. That is what we are also trying to do in this case. I think nobody is really served or well served if one would come up with rather unilateral or one-sided statements. I think the prudent approach, reminding all sides of their responsibilities, is the right way for the European Union to take.
Thank you very much, sir, for answering our questions.
A pleasure. Thank you.
Սիրելի հեռուստադիտողներ, ես հիշեցնեմ, որ մենք զրուցում ենք Հարավային Կովկասի Եվրաստանի ճգնաժամի հարցերի Եվրամիության հատուկ ներկայացուցիչ Herbert Salber-ի հետ։ Banadzev-ը շարունակվում է, մենք կվերադառնանք գովազդից անմիջապես հետո։